Hey guys, Ramsey here. Welcome to another video. Today we have a late night insight video on a Bortnikoff, and you guys know how much I've been loving these artisanal houses lately. And today we're going to talk about one of the third collection fragrances that actually slipped through the cracks. It's called Musk Cologne. And this little sample, this lucky scent 1 mil dabber, which I despise, was actually sent to me by one of my perfume god people. So thank you very much. And I have tested this twice. This is the second time I've had a chance to wear this to bed. Never given it a full wear because I don't like wearing these little dabbers as my scent of the day. But I will wear them to bed, and I'm going to do a fresh application. And I'll tell you what, if you are a fan, so there you go. If you are a fan of Dimitri Bortnikoff's work, and I've reviewed a couple that this actually will remind you of. Oh yeah. So, I have reviewed on the channel Musk Khabib. Okay, Musk Khabib, there's a full review on the channel. You can check that out. And I've also reviewed a fragrance called Amber Cologne. Okay, now this is in creation and style and longevity and intensity and the way it wears. It shares the most in common with Amber Cologne, but I would say sort of the placement of some of the notes and the way that the musk is used, he's borrowed a little bit from Musk Khabib here, okay? And so this is one that, like I said, slipped through the cracks. I never had any sample of Musk Cologne. It came out in 2019, and it's part of the third collection. So let me read you the blurb, and then we'll talk a little bit about sort of the way that I perceive this, okay? So this is according to Dimitri Bortnikoff's website as of right now. Musk Cologne is a fragrance that combines the sensuality of musk, the freshness of citruses, and the elegance of flowers. The composition contains natural musk, which is more valuable than gold. Since ancient times, musk has been considered a unique substance with a mysterious ability to charm and awaken the deepest desires of the soul. The combination of natural musk and the essences of citruses and flowers make the fragrance multifaceted and complex, filling it with shades and semitones. Very interesting. The fragrance starts with a juicy mix of tangerine, orange, lemon, and bergamot oils, an elegant bouquet of ylang-ylang, lily of the valley, tuberose, and magnolia, accompanied by a fresh note of green tea, which I have to admit, I don't get very much green tea, unfortunately. You know, the green tea fragrance that I would tell you to try, Sherwood's Gentleman, although it's very hard to get right now, but that's more use of green tea than this one, opens in the heart of the fragrance. The base is shaped by the notes of natural musk, sandalwood, and gaiac wood, which makes Musk Cologne deep and incredibly long-lasting. We'll talk a little bit about that. So here's the thing. Dimitri Bortnikoff is obviously the perfumer of this one. I say that because some of his fragrances are actually listing his son Maxim as the perfumer, which I've done a Maxim live stream. Maxim now has his own brand, if you will, and I can't wait for the future of that house as well. I'll tell you what, though. This shares a lot in common with Amber Cologne, so much so that even though there obviously are some differences, like there's frangipani in Amber Cologne, there's no frangipani here. There's a couple things like that kind of set it apart and make it a little bit different, but they scratch the same itch for me, right? Amber Cologne has ambergris, this has real natural Siberian deer musk. I would wear them for the same reason, let's say. If there's like a special event, Father's Day or something like that, both Amber Cologne and Musk Cologne would be absolutely beautiful. To me, this fragrance is just objectively beautiful. It opens up smelling like a proper Bortnikoff. And I've said before that Dimitri Bortnikoff has this signature way of kind of creating his fragrances, his use of florals, and it really seems like he had this plan with the cologne line, the original cologne line in 2019, the one with Musk Cologne, Moss Cologne, which I've reviewed. I don't know if I've reviewed Oud Cologne. I'd have to check. I think that's the missing link here. But now we're reviewing Musk Cologne. And so I've reviewed a couple of these colognes from the third collection from 2019. And the ones that I don't like, though, are the ones from 2022. The hated Cologne de la Terre, and they were like purple and red and all that stuff. Hated that cologne line. I thought they were absolutely horrendous. Those were a hard pass for me. I really thought that the house was starting to go in a completely different direction. I was not a fan of what was happening at the House of Bortnikoff. And so for me, this is, in essence, even though I'm trying it in 2024 for the first time, this is Dimitri Bortnikoff in pure form, okay, in top form, if you will, because this is from 2019 and this is kind of before some of the missteps later on, I think, in 2022. So how does Musk Cologne smell? So Musk Cologne basically opens up with this blast, this beautiful blast of citrus notes that come across to my nose anyways as extremely juicy, almost mouth-wateringly juicy, okay? And absolutely realistic, beautifully realistic. You know how sometimes you'll smell like a citrusy opening in a fragrance and think, ugh, it's like plasticky smelling or fake chemically citrusy or, you know, that kind of feeling? None of that is present here. None of it. And if you've smelled Amber Cologne, you will get that combination of citruses that remind you of the top of Amber Cologne. So you're going to get orange, you're going to get bergamot, lemon, and tangerine, okay? And it's just such a beautiful, uplifting fragrance. I could see the sun shining, a beautiful spring or summer day. It's uplifting, it's energetic, it's natural smelling. Those are the words of the opening for me. Now, that is the thing about this fragrance. To me, it just absolutely captures your attention. And it is exactly what I would expect from a artisanal take, or specifically Bortnikoff's take on a cologne. It does that cologne category, but in a way that's more geared to my current taste, okay? So yes, you will get that exhilarating hit of citruses in the opening, but this also gives you more and more instantly. Well, I would say maybe not instantly when you first spray, but definitely within the first minute, you're going to start to notice the beautiful, brilliant floral combination that Dimitri Bortnikoff has become very well known for. I talk about it many times in my Bortnikoff reviews. Dimitri Bortnikoff's use of florals is bar none, second to none. You know, it's really his calling card. And I mentioned this floral combination over and over in some of my previous reviews, but the very first thing that popped into my head when I smelled this version of his floral combination is that this version smells very chewy, okay? It's a chewy floral fragrance opening. Once those florals really start to come in, and they're coming in strong right now, you know, a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes in, you're going to get them very, very strong. The reason is the ylang ylang feels very rubbery and creamy, not really as banana-like as the way that it smells in Musk Khabib. Musk Khabib, the ylang ylang smells like blatantly yellow, like yellow rain jacket yellow. I mean, just yellow banana-like smell. Here, it's toned down a little bit, but you still get this almost whipped custard feeling. Powdery whipped custard is what the ylang ylang smells like here. And the chewy combination of ylang, tuberose, okay? Though that combination I smelled very recently in a fragrance I reviewed on the channel from the House of Sherwood. Well, I did an unboxing anyways. It's called his newest fragrance called Poseidon. So if you're interested, check out my live stream. They don't smell alike, but they both have this combination of two florals, which gives this very chewy-like feeling, okay? And it's not always that Bortnikoff uses this tuberose note. And here, the tuberose kind of really makes it smell a little bit unique. So you get the Bortnikoff DNA through and through. It smells like an old school Bortnikoff, but it's set apart, you know, and I talked about a little bit of setting things apart whenever I discussed my review on Musk Khabib. Musk Khabib had this huge overdose of ylang ylang, and normally he likes using things like magnolia and blue lotus and all these crazy florals and this combination that you kind of smell over and over again, frangipani and stuff like that. And with the musk fragrance that he did, he just overdosed this ylang ylang. And so even though you got this Bortnikoff floral, it was unique. Here, the tuberose makes Musk Cologne a little unique in that you get this strange combo of chewy florals that you usually don't get in a Bortnikoff fragrance. But the use of florals is still just as brilliant as how you would expect from Dimitri Bortnikoff. So I don't know exactly what gives you this Bortnikoff DNA. I could speculate and say that I think it has to do with the way that Dimitri Bortnikoff uses this spice combination, because I could swear, even though there's none in the note listing, that there's cardamom and nutmeg in here. Probably more cardamom than nutmeg. But yeah, even right now I'm getting it. I mean, there's this cardamom nutmeg combination that are both dosed brilliantly. And they're dosed brilliantly because they're not overshadowing that beautiful citrus opening. They're not overshadowing the beautiful floral parts, which obviously Bortnikoff is very happy to have kind of take center stage. He's not afraid of using florals in a way that many perfumers may shy away from. That's very ballsy of him, I would say. And here, what he's done is he's used Magnolia. Now, that is one of his calling cards, okay? And you see many of his floral bouquets come through with Magnolia. But you don't see very many other perfumers use Magnolia. It's not a very commonly used flower. You'll get the ylang, you'll get the lily of the valley, tuberose sometimes, but Magnolia is one of those flowers that kind of really sets him apart. It's a little bit of a calling card for him, okay? And so the Magnolia here adds this sort of sweet, creamy, almost citrusy smell in its own right. But to my nose, it can come across as slightly powdery, but maybe like a different powder to the way that Lily of the Valley can sometimes have this talc powder-like feel. Also add this freshness to the fragrance, but here the combo of citruses and flowers and spice just screams Bortnikoff to me. Bortnikoff through and through, the original OG creations from Dimitri Bortnikoff. Now, if I had to pick one thing out of this fragrance that may put some people off, it's the way that the florals kind of just take front and center and the way that they're executed, okay? It's interesting because when I reviewed Musk Khabib, which is basically his main musk fragrance in the collection, I mentioned the very heavy-handed use of that yellow-smelling ylang-ylang, which he really seemed to overdose. So it isn't surprising to see in the cologne version of his musk, this ylang-ylang notes still play a big part in the fragrance, okay? It isn't surprising to see something very similar play out here with the florals, especially the ylang-ylang, okay? So they all kind of work much stronger in much stronger shifts than one might expect. If you're new to Dimitri Bortnikoff's work, the florals will probably catch you off guard. And I noticed that maybe for some reason a lot of reviewers want to just block them out, but some reviewers just ignore them. You know, they don't mention the strong overdose of florals. And if you really pay attention, you can't miss them. I mean, you may read the thing and see musk and say, okay, musk and all this, but you have to mention the way that he uses the floral. So I would say, what is not surprising is that he decided to put together a similar structure with Amber Cologne, but instead of fortifying it with Amber Cologne, the fortification was real ambergris, actually multiple types of ambergris, if I remember. I think there was brown and gray from memory. I'd have to double check. Actually, I think it might be on the card. Yeah, gray and brown ambergris. So my memory isn't totally shit. But in Amber Cologne, he used ambergris and oud. There's a little bit of oud in the base in Amber Cologne to kind of fortify it, to give it more power and more strength than the average eau de cologne, right? In Musk Cologne, he basically used that real Siberian deer musk to try to play a very similar role. And honestly, if you kind of keep the two fragrances I've been mentioning, Amber Cologne and Musk Khabib in mind, it really feels like Musk Cologne just kind of falls right dead smack in the middle of those two, okay? And the musk here is much less prominent than the musk in Musk Khabib, but it's meant to wear like a cologne structure. So, I mean, it makes perfect sense that he was trying to kind of fortify it with the musk. And he's using an ingredient that obviously people will pay a little bit more money for because it's real deer musk. I mean, very few people get to smell real deer musk. And so it's kind of like a treat, it's one of those things that I see as a treat. Plus his use of the natural florals is just absolutely stunning. There's no synthetic substitutes here. There's no trying to mix a million things to approximate the smell of ylang. It smells like you're getting natural ylang, natural tuberose, natural lily of the valley, which can be tough to use in its natural form. But everything smells so natural here. Now, whether they're 100% natural or not, that I couldn't say. But they smell natural. That's one of the most important things. So they smell very natural. And so I wouldn't be surprised if he used some synthetics. I don't think this is 100% natural perfumery, but it smells natural. That's the important thing. It smells of quality. It smells very natural. And it just smells like you're with nature. It smells like you're outdoors in a field of just all these different flowers around you, and you're just with nature. Now, I do think that this fragrance has had some price hikes over the year, because when I originally bought my bottle of Amber Cologne the first time, 3 or 4 years ago, whenever it was about $180, right? Now, Musk Cologne goes for $270. which is just ouch. I think when I reviewed Amber Cologne, I mentioned it was $220. So I don't know if they had another price hike or if Musk Cologne and Amber Cologne are just differently priced because of the different ingredients. At 180, it's a steal. I would say value for money is through the roof. At 270, I mean, maybe that's fairly priced for where things are going in the perfume market, but it just seems like it's getting harder and harder and harder to find amazing values in the fragrance game nowadays. Still a little cheaper than his mainstream releases, which go for about $350, give or take. But you get the idea. I mean, you know, $270 is still pretty expensive for 50 mils. So as the fragrance dries, what ends up happening is that very vibrant, colorful, uplifting, citrusy feel lasts deeper and deeper into the dry down. Lasts surprisingly deep into the dry down. But what happens is that the hours tick by, it starts to kind of obviously give way, and you get more of this very uplifting musk, okay? It's not super animalic, it's not super leathery. It does feel a little bit grainy, but very powdery, okay? It's a powdery take on musk, and it starts kind of sneaking in over that original effervescent citrus, blast of citrus, and those chewy florals that I was talking about earlier. So now, even though this is called a cologne, it's literally called Musk Cologne, it's actually an eau de parfum, right? So longevity on these is quite impressive. I mean, it'll last you a work day. It'll last you a full work shift. It's not going to be as long as the 12 hours you're going to get from Musk Khabib, but it's a 7-8 hour fragrance, easy. One of the biggest downfalls with the old school eau de cologne style that used a lot of neroli and fresh citruses and stuff like that is it gave you that kind of uplifting blast. It was supposed to be like a freshener upper, you know, but it would only last on your skin 30 minutes or an hour or a couple hours, and then you had to reapply. So this kind of fixes that. It fixes that issue, and it does it with an artisanal note, like real deer musk, real Siberian deer musk, that many folks are willing to kind of pay for, you know? So I will say the musk in the name, though, may surprise some people because they may think musk is the main ingredient. It's not, okay? That cologne structure is the main ingredient with the citruses and the overdoses of florals, which Bortnikoff loves to use, all right? So here, the musk kind of acts as an amplifier. That's kind of the best way that I could describe it. It acts as an amplifier in the base and sort of just rounds everything out, you know? It shades around the edges, it adds form and texture, and you know, it doesn't have the heavier spice, the heavier resins, the heavier ylang, and of course the heavier musk from Musk Khabib. If you're looking for musk that's going to get you 12 hours, check out Musk Khabib, check out Siberian Musk by Aries Ladori, that kind of thing. But if you want kind of like a Musk Khabib light, if you will, that's where I think Musk Cologne is really quite beautiful and can definitely play a role. And if you said, Ramsey, you can have one full bottle of the Cologne series from Bortnikoff that you don't have, this would easily be a front runner, easily for me. I think even though I really liked Musk Cologne, I think Musk Cologne was more of like a cheaper construction. This really feels like a Bortnikoff creation through and through. Now, the musk into the dry down is a little bit more powdery, but as I mentioned, it doesn't have the heft, you know, it doesn't have this old school musk punch you in the face, bloody. Some musks can smell bloody. They can smell sort of like you're smelling the whole surrounding of the deer. This is a little bit more simplistic take on musk. You don't get the chocolatey aspects of it. It almost smells like spicy or sparkly ambergris in a way. The musk smells very high quality, and even though you get the powdery elements, there's also a sparkly element to the musk, like it sparkles, there's a freshness to it. And like I said, in Musk Cologne, you don't get very much of the chocolate, which was a big deal in Musk Khabib, but you get that sparkly ambergris feel, and that's one of the reasons why I think it keeps reminding me of Amber Cologne over and over and over and over. So, I mean, common sense would tell you that the musk used in a cologne version would definitely have to be lighter than, say, Musk Khabib, his flagship musk, right? But it isn't feather light. The musk in here is not like feathery lightness. It does add, you know, some heft to the base. It weighs everything down, and it hits like a real musk fragrance. Everything is just so beautifully intertwined, though. That's the thing that I think really caught me off guard on this and Amber Cologne, for example, is, you know, if you're kind of one of those people who struggles with blending the artisanal houses and how they blend, check out Musk Cologne, check out Amber Cologne. Very, very impressive work by Dimitri Bortnikoff, in my opinion. So that's kind of my 2 cents. That's my early impression on Bortnikoff's Musk Cologne. I'd love to know your thoughts. If you've had a chance to smell it, do let me know. Let me know what you think of this cologne line. I love doing these Bortnikoff reviews because I really do love Dimitri's work, and I can't wait to smell his newest releases. He's got 3 new ones I've never smelled yet, but exciting times in the fragrance world. A lot to sniff. So thanks everyone for watching. Cheers, guys, and I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.